Welcome everyone to the second video of our first ever Skylander month. I hope you have all been enjoying, and I really hope you enjoyed this next video we got lined up here today. Because what we are going to be doing is ranking the final boss battles and, second to final boss battles, because we need to shake it up a little bit, otherwise it'll all be chaos. But that's besides the point. We're going to be ranking them based on how good they were, what kind of impact they left, the game mechanics, all that, and overall, how much fun they were. But if you disagree with anything I have on my list and where it's ranked, feel free to leave a comment down below how you would rank these boss battles we're going to be listing here today, and let's get right into it. So coming in at 9th and last place, we have Super Chaos from Skylanders Imaginators. And do I even need to say why that this is the worst boss fight? I mean, come on. Super Chaos is barely involved in the fight at all. He only shows up to take damage, give a single shockwave, and then just make more Doomlanders. Or Doomraid? Wait, it's Doomlander, Doomlanders. You fight Doomlanders that were already previous bosses throughout the game. And while that might seem satisfying or even cool to some people, it's just more of the same, really. I mean, the stage is just fine, kind of basic, just a standard circle arena and all that. There's not really any variation in the attacks. I mean, I think there's at least one new Doomlander we haven't seen before, but other than that, it's just a lot of what we've already encountered. So where's the variety? Why should we care about this? It's just fighting waves and waves of Doomlanders until you manage to chip away at Chaos's health until he dies. At least with other boss battles, they would switch up the variety for the most part. They would never just keep throwing the exact same thing at you. Even the lowest of boss battles had somewhat of a variation to them. It's not just the exact same attack over and over again. I'm probably wrong about that completely. I'm sure some of you are going to give me examples, but I stand by my opinion. And what makes it even worse is the fact that it is the literal final boss battle of the entire series. This is the note the games had to go out on, and it was just kind of meh. Your final game should not make you go meh. It should make you go, God dang it, I want another game. But besides that, let's just get into number 8 and leave this where it belongs at number 9. So coming in at number 8, we have a step up from Super Chaos, the Golden Queen. Now let me make it clear, I do not hate this boss battle. It was fun, I enjoyed it, it was good for what it was. However, I did not enjoy it overall because frankly, it's just kind of underwhelming, I suppose you could say. I mean, this is supposed to be like the head of the Doom Raiders, and her boss battle was just kind of okay. Not horrible, not great, not amazing or anything, just kind of okay. It just kind of comes off as a lot of dodging projectiles and jumping over shockwaves and then just doing it on a larger scale. It does have some variation though when she takes her, I'm going to call it a boulder form I guess, and starts smashing the arena, so you have to jump over the tiles onto the new ones that are reforming and then keep doing it as you're trying to hold on. That was kind of interesting. And it does take things up a notch when she assumes her giant golden form, but even then it was just like dodging more projectiles. And the only real difference, I suppose, was when she was crawling after you, but even that was a little too easy. It didn't leave a great impression, I thought, for someone who's supposed to be as powerful as her. I don't know, maybe they could have shaken it up a little bit by creating some solid gold minions or something, or maybe the ceiling starts to rain down golden boulders so it's destroying the arena and you have to dodge, or maybe she makes some giant golden hands that try and crush you and take out the arena as you're trying to escape, and then it reforms and then you can do it all again, but maybe on a bigger scale. I don't know, I'm just spitballing here. But overall, not a bad boss fight, just not a great one. It could have used a little more oomph since it's the second to last one of its own game, Skylanders Trap Team, but besides that, let's just get into our number 7 spot. Coming in at number 7, we have The Darkness from Skylanders 5 Skylanders Superchargers, and the definitive, only final boss battle that isn't chaos. So with a title like that, how's his boss fight? It must be amazing. It must be the greatest thing that ever existed. It's you know, it gets the job done, I suppose. It's kind of nice. You got the racing thing going on, dodging some pistons and some lasers, I suppose. Switches up the track every now and then. Overall, you know, just it's unique, I suppose. We've never had a racing boss fight before, so that's something. But yeah, there's not really that much to say about this guy, actually. I mean, you make this guy look like the destroyer of worlds, and what do? We charge our vehicle into him and then just slowly pick away at his health. Really? That's the best you got? This guy looks like he should be eating planets, Galactus style. And that's all we get? Just a racetrack? I mean, I guess it fits with the theme, but still, this is the final boss. It's just, you could have did so much more with this. Like, and I'm just coming up with this off the top of my head, what if halfway through the battle we crash our vehicle into him, then he goes tumbling backwards, and now the boss fight is no longer in a vehicle, we're fighting on top of him. He's a big guy, I think they could swing it. Then what if we have to battle through like dark waves of enemies or something and then travel into his armor and cause it to explode from the inside, instead of, you know, just constantly ramming our vehicle into him until he dies. They were hyping this guy up so much throughout the game, and this is the best they could come up with for the darkness. The destroyer of Skylands, the darkness. This is all they could do? It's just not enough for someone of this magnitude. But you know what? Let's just move on to number 6, because at number 6 we have...
Bum, bum, bum! Me! Chaos! And in case you foolish human fools haven't figured it out yet, I'm the bad guy.
Now, I will admit, Emperor Chaos is by no means the strongest Chaos boss battle that's ever existed. I mean, heck, he's the second to last boss battle in this game, which actually makes him unique. Typically, in every other game, Chaos has always been the final boss battle, so this deviation in of itself is what makes him rather unique, I suppose you could say. Now, this boss battle is very, very easy. Even on Nightmare mode, it was never that much of a challenge. The obstacles are rather basic, pretty easy to dodge, nothing to really trip you up all that much. But you know what? I like it. It has enough variety of it to keep it interesting. I enjoy Chaos's cloning ability. I like how he uses the stage as a weapon. I like how he brings out a giant sword and starts smashing it against the ground. I like when he gets the dark in his hands. So overall, not difficult, not really a challenge, but creative enough to keep me intrigued. I can't say I was bored during this. It's by no means perfect, but it's pretty good. And you know what? I think what really sells me on it is the fact that the boss fight feels like it's getting harder. Now, let me explain what I mean. It doesn't necessarily get any more challenging, but it feels like it does. Like when Chaos first arrives, he's throwing one spiky block at you at a time, but then later he throws 5. At first he has 4 clones of himself, but then later he has 6. And then he mixes it up a little bit by bringing out a sword, and then maybe some giant hands, making new shockwave attacks. And then when he ends it, he makes like I want to call that a spirit bomb? He makes a spirit bomb and blasts it on the stage, which, not that difficult to dodge, nothing to write home about, but it's interesting, it's creative, and I like it. But do you know what's even better than Emperor Chaos? At number 5, we have Chaos from Skylanders Spyro's Adventure, starring Chaos, by Chaos, from Chaos, to Chaos. Chaos was the golden standard that started all the other Chaos boss fights, because you know what? This one was great. Not perfect, because, you know, it was before we could jump, so that was annoying, but you know what? It was good. It had a lot of variety, a lot of mechanics, it was easy to understand, and it was a lot of fun to play through. The arena was creative, Chaos feels moderately involved in the fight, but you know what really sells this? The Elemental Hydra with 4 different elements: water, life, fire, and death. Each of them packing their own waves of attacks and constantly shaking up the variety of the fight. And not to mention, you had to fight against the OG Doomlanders, back when they were literally just dark Skylanders, which kinda worked for them because I thought they looked awesome. But okay, you know, it's not perfect. If I had to pick some things about it that don't really hold up all that well, the game graphics are very outdated. Chaos doesn't do all that much outside of sit in his chair and try and crush you, and all you have to do is hit him whenever he appears on the battlefield like, oh no. But you know, overall, I don't really have that much negative to say about it, because you know what, it's a pretty solid boss fight. Not amazing, not perfect, but you know what, it's the first of its kind, so I have to give it at least a little bit of leeway. So, what it has going for it, good game mechanics, creativity, shakes up the gameplay enough to keep players interesting, just difficult enough to give them a challenge and make them feel like they accomplished something. I have no real complaints.
But you know what I do have complaints about? This next boss fight. It really grinds my gears, it rusts my metal. By God, I cannot stand this one. It is number 4.
Wow, we got a lot of time left on the Robo Chaos! Yes! The first ever tall version of Chaos with a metal exterior and a giant gauntlet that shoots laser beams and he can summon enemies with the palm of his hand and he looks
awesome!
But in all seriousness, I really do enjoy this boss fight. It really shook things up from the first game, and you know what? Robo Chaos looks awesome and he feels very involved in the fight. Now what I mean is, throughout the fight, you will see him fighting the other Archean mech in the background, making him feel like an imposing force. He'll continuously summon new obstacles and enemies for you to fight. He'll shoot laser beams onto the field to try and take you out. He feels very present and domineering in this fight, unlike in other versions such as Super Chaos from Imaginators, Super Chaos. You have Super Chaos from Imaginators. Did I mention Super Chaos from Imaginators? And you know, I've complained about simple circular arenas before, but you know, this one kind of works. It feels very claustrophobic, very high up, and it really gives you a scale of just how big Robo Chaos is. There was a bridge leading up to this place, and he just walked right through it like it was made of tissue paper. Now that is imposing. And you know what? Unlike the Golden Queen giant chase scene, this one is done much better. Chaos smashes the arena, he tries to crush you, there are enemies in the way, obstacles to trip you up. This is what the Golden Queen chase scene should have been. But you know, the boss fight, even on hard mode, still isn't that difficult. Now don't get me wrong, it's not a walk in the park, but it's nothing that'll make you absolutely livid. Weeks you will spend, sleepless nights you will never have. Oh, we're on to the next one. Oh crap, Chaos's mom, everybody. Now, I'm probably gonna get called a hypocrite for this, because this boss fight is very similar in some aspects to the Super Chaos boss fight, where you have a main villain standing on the sideline, barely doing anything while they throw hordes of enemies at you for you to fight instead of the boss themselves. Well, you see here, the thing is, the big difference, I think, is the arena primarily. It's not just one place, it has 3 stages to it, and they're all pretty creative in their own right. Not to mention, you're fighting a lot of enemies, but they're also nicely spaced out and have a lot of unique abilities about them. You get to fight a bunch of evil-eyed creatures and a bunch of greagles, constantly shaking up the gameplay and making it feel fresh throughout the boss fight. Plus, this isn't the final boss. This is the second to final boss, meaning it gets at least a little bit of leeway in that regard. But I will admit, I do wish Chaos's mom was a little bit more involved in the battle itself, as all she really does is occasionally zap you with a laser, it backfires, and then she retreats, to which you then have to take your Skylander off the portal of power, she goes back into the game, we start the next wave, repeat. It's fine, not great, definitely the weakest aspect in my opinion, but overall, nothing that bad. Plus, you'll be so busy fighting off waves of enemies that I think you'll hardly even notice. And one aspect that works better about this boss fight than the Super Chaos boss fight did, these are just regular enemies, meaning you've had plenty of experience throughout the game fighting them, and hence you know how to beat them. The game has prepared you for this moment, unlike in Imaginators, where the Super Chaos boss fight consisted of other characters that were boss fights. You got to fight them once, and that was it. And now the final boss fight is consisting of nothing but characters you got to fight once. Okay, now as we're coming into the number 2 spot, I need to give you a little bit of perspective here. Okay, here is Chaos, alright? Here is Robo Chaos next to Chaos, okay? Here is Super Chaos next to Robo Chaos. and here's your mom. But in all seriousness, this boss fight is great. I mean, it is a literal, no wait, the literal first and only multi-stage chaos boss battle we've ever had. It's like the animator said, let's do Robo Chaos again, but let's make him bigger, let's make him stronger, let's make him cooler, let's make him purple. I'm sorry, did you say make him purple?
Yes!
I want him purple. The gameplay is constantly being shooken up throughout the fight. Let me explain the stages to you. For the first stage, you're trying to avoid being crushed underneath his foot, to which you have to chip off some petrified darkness to progress to the next stage. Alright? To where he will pick you up and try to eat you. You will then have to survive shockwaves and hordes of enemies while inside his mouth and chipping away at the petrified darkness on his teeth. If you do that successfully, he will spit you out and then you will fall in his ear and you will have to fight his brain as it creates enemies for you to fight. You even get to fight Evil Eye's Glumshanks again, albeit a much smaller version of him, but still pretty cool. Oh, not to mention the Chaos Sheep. Now, I didn't know how to react to that the first time I saw it. I just thought it was hilarious. But then after you beat up his brain, he sneezes you out, and I am very concerned that his brain is connected to his nostril cavity, but that's a topic for another day. Anyways, there's a giant cannon you need to get to, and you're just running for your life as super evil Chaos tries to destroy you with basically the Kamehameha. It's cool. It is awesome. You feel the scale of it, and it is insane.
And now you're probably wondering, what boss fight could possibly be better than this one? Well, here today we have my good friend Mr. Galaxy here to talk about our #1 spot, Skylanders Trap Team Chaos.
So I'd say Skylanders Trap Team Chaos? Skylanders Superchargers may be my favorite game, but the boss fight in that game sucks! If you ask me, the best Chaos fight had to be the one before that, and that had to be Trap Team. So Chaos in this boss fight has been regarded to be one of the best Chaos boss fight in Skylanders history. The ones before being just glorified running away from enemies and then fighting them and giants. And okay, but Snorefest Skylander final boss fight. An interesting take on Chaos in a giant form, although the sheep was kind of terrifying. But this boss fight, it's absolutely beautiful. So first off, the atmosphere is tense. Chaos has attained the ability to break the fourth wall, and he sees the Quartermaster through the TV screen or iPad or whatever version of this game you're playing. Emulated? Definitely emulated these days. And you have to go through the ultimate weapon, which has been built up through the entire game. And wow, I gotta say, maybe it's because I've been playing this level over and over again and instantly maxed out my Skylanders paths, but this is just a good level in general, but that's not in this video. We're talking about the boss fights. So the boss fights! Well, the man behind the slaughter mocks you for a bit before transforming himself into a giant Traptanian crystal, which begins, like I said, the best boss fight in the game! Chaos will attack you with energy waves that will do some damage, but you'll take tons of damage if you stand in the middle of Chaos's attack, because there's a giant purple aura around him. After taking a ton of damage, Chaos will fly up to the screen and try to take the Quartermaster into Skylands, because right now he's in between the world of Skylands and the world of our world. I gotta say, when I first saw this scene, I was terrified, but to be fair, as a young kitten, I thought this whole thing was real. Anyways, after that, Chaos will spawn in little elemental bullets. They're pretty easy to dodge, but they come with a cost. If your Skylander matches the element that he's attacking you with, congratulations, you get healed up. But if it's the opposite element, then oh boy, you're screwed. You're gonna take a ton of damage by this. But you can also get rid of them if you want, in a really clever way to use the villains. Swapping in from your Skylander to your villain over and over again will delete these bullets and turn them into healing items. And honestly, like I mentioned before, that's just really clever. After that, it's pretty much the same dog and pony show over and over again, and Chaos decides to pull a fast one, heal himself up, become slightly more stronger, and grow Traptanium swords out of nowhere. And this, oh my swells. If the first form of Chaos was Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, then phase 2 and onwards is Black and White 2. Chaos will do the same 2 attacks, but this one with an added slashing attack. He'll attack you with his swords, either in a straight line or just randomly. Another thing he does now is one of my personal favorite. He summons the Doom Sharks of Ultimate Evil. And if you go near them but avoid them, they heal you up. But of course, if you take damage by them, oh man, God have mercy, you better hope you have an army on you on a nightmare run. After you nearly defeat him, Chaos achieves his final form, taking 2 wings of Sephiroth and growing to his final size. And this right here, is the Yokai Watch 3 of Chaos boss fights. He'll now summon loads of Tractanium swords to slash onto the field, and they get faster and faster and faster, and it just feels so satisfying to dodge. Afterwards, there's no bars holding him back. He'll summon a few lasers, combine a few attacks, and he'll keep doing that over and over again until you defeat him. And then you'll be able to trap him in a Chaos Crystal, thus adding him to your roster of playable Skylanders and as the most overpowered and broken character of the entire game. Not only was this the final level of the main story, not only was just a satisfying boss fight, and not only did this give you an amazing reward if you had the right item to play as him, but it also gave Skylanders a conclusive ending, at least until Superchargers. But even then, I think Superchargers is more stronger on a narrative perspective, but on a gameplay perspective, Skylanders Trap Team's final boss is just so swirling awesome. And can I just say, the music? It starts off with another cool Chaos remix, but as time goes on, if you go to the deeper phases, it just keeps getting better and better. This feels like the ultimate final boss. If it wasn't for Skylanders Superchargers, this would have been a satisfying conclusion to Chaos' story.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Galaxy, but unfortunately, we've run out of time here. But yes, I do agree with everything you've said up until this point.
Yeah, you're right. There's nothing much I can really add to what fans said. The boss fight is good, the level before it was pretty fun, and the music is just headbanging awesome that it's right next to one of my top favorite boss themes of all time. This fight was being built up through the entire game, and I gotta say, it was worth it. Because this boss fight, if you ask me, or ask most of the fans, they will probably agree with me and say that this is the best Chaos boss fight in Skylanders history. Now, if you excuse me, I'm gonna go run through that whole manual, because one of your characters here seems to have a grudge against me, and I don't know why. They keep saying that I attacked him with the vital system, but the damn thing isn't even finished being developed yet.
Now let me tell you, Sheep Creep is an absolute nightmare. No one to this day has ever managed to beat him. Legions of Skylanders, even on easy mode, have died to him. But you know what? It is so much fun. A 10-stage boss battle, that's more than Super Evil Chaos has. Sheep Creep is the definitive Doom Raider in an unbeatable force of nature. He is truly deserving of my 0th place on the list and is the best boss fight ever. He would manhandle everyone that came before him. But you know what? I think that's going to do it for this video here today. I hope you were enjoying Skylander month, and stay tuned for the next couple of videos that are going to be coming out this month. We got 2 more in the works, and the next one is going to be decided by... has been decided by you, sorry. It's a long-awaited favorite of yours, you could say. Stay tuned.